Hello, this is Ron Brown again. I've heard from several people who are in the Insider Club that they like this integration with HGS Investor and thinkorswim, so I'm going to continue along that course. I was going to anyway, but thanks for the encouragement. So anyway, I'm doing this on the 29th. The market's up big today. The supposed catalyst was that the jobs number came in weak, so the Fed supposedly will be easing up on raising interest rates. But right as of now, it's really just an oversold bounce. But anyway, it's positive after all the negativity we've had. Once again, standard risk disclaimer. Any stock index or ETF mentioned in this presentation is not a recommendation to buy or sell. All trading strategies are used at your own risk. Now I'm going to break these videos up into shorter videos. I don't want to throw too much at you all at the same time, but I want to point out some things. The next time you download the add-ons or my add-on file, I've decided to move this thinkorswim user group up to the top of the list because some people couldn't find it down here, although I pointed it out many times. So I just indented it and moved it to the top of the list. I also did one other thing. I had the stocks and groups moving up, but there are two smart groups. One of them is stocks and groups moving up $1 to $15 stocks, and a lot of people love to trade these low price stocks, and there's a reason why, because if you get on the right ones in that price range, you can make a lot of money. So I decided to put this in here. So same number, same groups, except I had added one more, and I call it 4A because it's a subset of stocks and groups moving up, and some of the stocks will be in both of the smart groups. Now I'm going to bring up thinkorswim, and I've got these quad charts I'm going to share with you. I kind of like this layout. Let's go to a stock here because it's got the weekly, it's got the daily with the fan and the moving averages. It's got a 78-minute chart where we can really start to see when a stock may be changing character, and then there's a 5-minute chart here. This is a low volume stock. I'm going to find something else. How do I know it's low volume? Because I looked right over here. By the way, on your watch list, I'm going to click on this little dial right here. I'm going to customize it. What I've done is I've made a change here. You know about this daily relative range field that you have to add. I had sectors in here, but I decided to put sub-volume in instead because they're pretty close actually to what we have in HGSI, and it gives us a better feel for these groups and what's happening. This is the RS combo 95. You can see there's a lot of oil and gas, pharmaceutical, biotech, and so on in here. So the sub-industries will work. Once again, you click on that little wheel, and then you just do a search for these fields and pop it over into this window by adding items. If you want to remove something, just highlight it and click on remove. I'll get back to the user groups here in a minute. What I want to point out is if you like this, and by the way, I'm going to be sharing these in the Insider Club, shared toss grids, the 4-chart grid, which I'm showing right now, a momentum grid, which I'll show you in a minute, the comp, and the NYSE short-term breadth chart. You just click on those, and when the link opens up, you copy and paste it into under setup, open shared item, just paste it into there, and then you'll have this. Now you may not like these 4 together, but what you can do is you can just maximize a chart, and then this is your daily chart. If you want to go to the weekly, just back up one. If you want to go to the 78-minute chart right here, and then here's the 5-minute chart. I prefer to look at it this way because I can get a quick feel for the long term, the intermediate term, the short term, and really the micro. I suppose a micro. This is a 5-minute. You can use any type of chart you want to. Now I have no moving averages on this. I have a fan on here, 200, 150. The 18 is green, and so is the green up here, which is the 3. These are thicker. These two, the yellow and the green, are thicker for the short-term moving averages. But I can get a feel for momentum based upon these moving averages. You can see strong momentum here as these pulled apart, and then as they came back together, this is consolidation. Now they're starting to move apart. This is deer, by the way. Okay, let me explain these watch lists. Well, I've explained them before, but I want to do this here. So every night when you do your download, these are going to be updated, and then you can put them into thinkorswim, and they'll be ready to go in the morning. Somebody asked me a question, do you have to wait for my add-on? No. Once the add-on's installed, every time you do an update, these smart groups will automatically be updated, and then you can just click on the link, copy symbols to clipboard, comma separated list, and then click on this, edit the list, and then import, paste from the clipboard, and it's going to replace the current symbols. So it will wipe the current symbols out and replace it with the symbols from the new day. These are going to be the same, of course, because I've already done it. And then here's that daily relative range. You can sort on percent change, and this one's up 16.38%, but I know it's pulled back because it's trading at 71.0% of its daily range. But if you go down here, here's one MAC. It's up 88 cents, but it's trading up 8.4. It's up 8.41%, but it's still trading at 96.5% of its daily range. Let's see what this is all about. It looks like a buyout, actually. Or I don't know. I'd have to look at the news on this. Merrimack Pharmaceuticals, probably a buyout. But you can always look for news right here. All right, here's the news, why it jumped 213%. I'm not going to spend time on that, but okay, so I want to put this back down to the grid, so I just click on that arrow, and now I have the 4 charts here together. Okay, so let's go through these combos. This is a relative strength combo, and these are stocks that are oftentimes leaders. Now I'm going to bring up a HGSI chart also. I think I'll switch to, well, this one's all right. So what's the symbol? CABA. I can bring it up here. I can see there's an effort to rise today. I can see where the 3 crossed the 6. I can see where the VPOC crossed. I can see where there were continuation signals all the way along on here. Then I can open this up and I can see that this is a RS99 stock. So that's why it made the list. These are going to be high relative strength stocks, and many of them are going to be leaders. And where do we find the big winners in the market? We find them as, well, obviously they're leaders if they're going to be out in front of everything else, but this combo does a pretty good job of locating them. Let's look at GLCY. Now you can see it was in a strong downtrend on the weekly, bottomed out here. You can see accumulation, then a big move up here, followed by another weekly move, and then it consolidated. Where was the buy point here? On 11.9 on the daily chart. It's coming out of that consolidation. This is, of course, only shows 5 days. but that's sufficient for what I'm looking for entry points. So GLYC, I want to bring up a chart here. GLYC. Okay, here's the original buy point. These are all volume pocket pivots. Here is another buy point accumulation here, and here it is. This is a cheap or inexpensive stock, but notice that the relative strength is 99 on it. Once again, just showing what comes up in this RS combo. Let's go down to, let's look at AKRO. It's a more expensive stock, and big move up, shakeout, consolidation. Then it was basing sideways, and then here's a gap down the other day, but you can see buyers came back into it rather quickly. Here the 3 crossed the 6. Now let's take a look at it for relative strength. And if I can find my chart, here it is. And this one is AKRO. And what is it? It's a relative strength of 99. So anyway, that particular smart group is going to find high relative strength stocks, and it's going to help you find the leaders. Now the next one, these are 100 stocks and groups moving up from the prior day. Look here, biotech, pharma, a lot of biotech stocks today. These are not necessarily high relative strength stocks. As you can see, this one has a strong weekly downtrend, but the past couple of days it started moving. Has to be on news. Let's look at KALA. And you can see the relative strength is only 20 on this. So high relative strength stocks are going to be in my user group 03. Stocks and groups moving up from the prior day are in 4 and 4A, which these are stocks that are, well, this was under 15. It's up $8 today, so it's no longer a $15 stock. That's the stock I was looking at. Okay, let's look. Oh, here's a $12 stock. You can see the weekly had the third higher high here, so that's when the weekly uptrend began, and then it's been moving higher. A lot of consolidation, basing sideways, and the last 2 days it's been on the move. PDSB, let's take a look at that one. And it's a high relative strength stock. So some of them are going to be high relative strength, some are not, but they're stocks and groups moving up. The next one, these are 100 stocks with the price up and the fan up yesterday, but there were not 100 of them because the market was really weak yesterday, but it's obviously seeing a revival today, at least for a day. Once again, you can see the sub-indexes give us a clear picture of where the strength is. A lot of biotech stocks. I mean, there's a ton of biotech stocks. There were fan up and price up yesterday. Okay. Lots of places to look. This is the top 50 group inclusion report. I don't need to explain it. There's that Kayla again. This, even though it just shot up yesterday, it hit enough smart groups or activated enough smart groups to appear yesterday in the top 50 group inclusion report. Here's a perfect speculator. Now these are stocks that are breaking out or close to breaking out to a 52-week high or a 3.25-year high. You can see these are leading stocks also. Let's look at MNKD. And this is the RS98 stock. You can see that it's been in an uptrend. The 3's been above the 6 most of the time. Had a little dip right here, but now it's starting to go again. So these are leaders also. The big winners are going to come out of these high relative strength groups or the perfect speculator group, because to get included, they have to be strong. Now, 08 is, these are undercut stocks that have undercut the 3 and the 6, but they were showing some signs of accumulation the past few days, and now they're looking to turn up. Now these are lower risk entries. I shouldn't say low risk, lower risk entries, because they've pulled back. Doesn't mean they're going to go back up again. Let's look at one more. TTMI, you can see it pulled back. The 3 is under the 6. It hasn't quite crossed it yet. The next user group, and by the way, some of these user groups may change as I experiment or come up with filters and so on. If I find something that I like better, or I may not necessarily replace what I have because I like what I have, but I may just add it to it. Now these crossed over. The 3 has crossed over. Whoops, I didn't. Let's do this one. The 3 has crossed over the 6 now, so that's why they're in here. And by the way, these are box stocks. 8 and 9 are HGSI box stocks. And then number 10 is all of the box stocks in the database. I think there's 600 and some of them. So you can, if you like to deal only with box stocks, and look what's leading up here, oil and gas. This is the list. And then also in Market Watch, you can look at any of these groups through the Market Watch, because if you create a watch list, it's going to show up here under your personal files. Now let's take a look at the box stocks, and you can see how the box stocks are doing today. And Tesla is obviously one of the leaders. It was much higher, so it's backed off a little bit. If you want to go down into these groups, hold your shift key, click on information technology, and it'll take you down to the next levels. Pretty slick, but you can really get a feel for what's going on here. Now I'm going to see if I can move this over a little bit. Go back up to Perfect Speculator. You can see where the strength is in this group. Stocks and groups moving up. Most of them have continued today. And on the 1 to 15, not all of them, the bigger caps, have not, but over in here you can see there's a lot of bright green. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. I'm going to click on charts. And I want to point out that you can put anything in here for a user group. If you're an option player, I created a user group personal. Let's see. Well, I put several ETFs in here, and most liquid options. If you like to play options, these stocks right here are the most liquid, and you can see where the strength and weakness is. There are also ETFs in here. So if a group isn't assigned, it may be an ETF, or they just don't have a group for it in thinkorswim. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about these right now. I'll be covering all of this stuff more and more in videos, and I'll get into them in more depth. What I want to do now is, from my other monitor, I'm going to bring this over, and this is a view into the market. Now I've got the E-minis here, the ES, the NQ. You can put anything in here you want to. You can swap these symbols out. But what this allows me to do, I can see the volatility of the VIX. I can see what Bitcoin's doing, bonds, crude light. Now it'll tell you if these are daily or if they're 5-minute charts. I have daily charts on the bonds and on crude oil and on bonds here too. So just look right here. It'll tell you what the time frame is, and you can change that. Now these boxes over here show me how strong the market is. This $ADSPD tells me the number of advancing issues versus declining issues in the S&P 500. And you can see right now it's at 465. It was as high as 41 earlier. This is the AD line from the NYSE. This is the AD line from the NASDAQ composite. Now I'm going to maximize this, and you can see this morning the strength. These are 1 minute charts, by the way. The strength is way up here, and it held really well. It broke past a resistance here, and then it started coming back a little bit, but it's still very strong over at 2084 positive. And if I move to the, I didn't want to do that. I'm going to restore these and just bring this up. Okay, this is the NASDAQ. The front / Q tells me it's NASDAQ. So there's 2,578 more advancing issues. I just shouldn't say more. The high was 2627, so it's really holding up quite well. And maybe this is the beginning of a Santa Claus rally. We don't know. This is what's a little suspect. Look at the volume here on the NYSE and the NASDAQ. But we still have an hour to go on the NASDAQ, so it could be pretty decent. But I just like to set this up in another monitor off to the side, and then I can get a feel for the breadth of the market. Now I'm going to share that one with you. Let me bring, if I can find it. Okay, the 4-grid chart, that's what I showed you here. This is the momentum grid, and I'm going to share one more with you. It's the composite and the NYSE short-term breadth chart. And let me see if I can locate that. Here it is right here. This shows me the breadth. This is a 5-day, 5-minute chart. I've zoomed in on this for today. You can see the gap up, and it's been holding up really well. But here's the breadth, for about 4.2 to 1 on the NASDAQ. You can see this says NASDAQ. On the NYSE, it's actually better, 5.59, 5.6 to 1. So there's been a little tailing off, but not bad, you know, considering there's only an hour left. After you import this, make sure you open it up so you can see the whole thing. I think it's going to be kind of compressed, but you know, it's very useful information. You get a feel for the enthusiasm out of the gate and if it's going to hold up. Now the NYSE is backing off a little bit, but it's still 5.57 to 1 positive. Now there's an hour to go in the market. I'm going to look at the comp here. I want to look at the daily chart. And this was support yesterday. You can see, as I pointed out in my chart this morning, it was clearly broken, but it gapped open from yesterday's close to here. And where are we? We are back where we were on the 23rd. Not quite there on Friday's close. So here's Tuesday, here's Wednesday, and here's Thursday today. So if this is the beginning of something, we'll see if there's a continuation of this. But clearly, the trend is still down. On the weekly chart, you can see that here is critical support right here. Here is the low and the current. So if this is taken out here, look out below, because this is really critical support in my opinion. But hopefully buyers will be coming in. Right now, I believe it's just an oversold bargain hunting bounce. But on the other hand, look over here at these watch lists. I mean, some of these stocks, and let's just open this back up or close it down so you can see. I mean, some of these stocks are doing really quite well. What am I? This is my relative strength combo, a $38 stock. Here was a test, and here is a confirmation with that green arrow up, and it's starting to go. Now, the thing about the VPA in thinkorswim, I got this years ago. I mean, I'm talking 10 or 15 years ago, off of a bulletin board, and it precedes anything that was done by, I believe it precedes anything that was done by Karthik Marar, whose code we're using for HGSI. But they're very similar. If you learn HGSI, you're going to recognize what these are. Here's a test, here's a test, here's an effort to rise, there's a rejection. The thing is, it doesn't show them up here like on HGSI. You just have to kind of guess what they are. But it's a good guideline, and it's nice to have VPA flags within the shorter time frames, whereas we're limited to the daily and the weekly charts in HGSI. But HGSI and thinkorswim work extremely well together because we can do the prospecting with these groups and just bring them into HGSI. Into thinkorswim. And what do we have? We have ready-made lists to go. If you want to use some of your own scans, fine, doesn't matter to me. But this is a core group. Okay, that's it for this video. It's 27 minutes. That's long enough. I know I threw a lot at you, but I just want to remind you that I am going to share these that I showed you right here. And this video I will post right here. And I'm going to be changing at the end of the year or the beginning of the year. I'm going to change this to a January add-on, and I'm going to make some other changes too over the weekend. I've got a lot of things I need to get rid of or reorganize. I've got charts that I'm not really using and so on anymore. So I'm going to tighten things up, and I may get rid of some of the stuff in the designer too that I really don't use anymore. I don't use the Morales smart groups at all anymore under smart groups. I don't know if any of you do or not. I should probably put a survey out there to see which of this stuff you're using it. If you're not using it, there's no sense in me wasting my time gathering that information. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for listening. I hope you're enjoying this, combining these two powerful programs together to even get more out of it. Now, I'm not neglecting what we can do with the warehouse and chart views in HGSI. I'm just trying to show you the powerful combination of the two, with thinkorswim being the face or the interface to the market. Thank you for listening. Have a happy new year and a safe new year.